Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Henry and I today will try to deliver the material entitled Assessing Reading. This video is made to fulfill the assignment of language assessment. Me, Hendri Halifa, and I am from Magister of English Education in University of Muhammadiyah Purwokerto. Okay, so in this occasion, in this material, we have some outlines. So we are going to talk about the types or genre of reading. And then we will talk about micro skills, macro skills, and strategy for reading. And next is the types of reading. And the next one is designing assessment tasks. In designing assessment tasks, we have four parts. The first is perceptive reading and selective reading. Third, interactive reading, and the last one is extensive reading. Okay, so in foreign language learning, reading is like a skill that the teacher simply expect learners to acquire. Basic, beginning level, textbook in foreign language presuppose a student's reading ability if only because it's a book that is the medium. Most formal tests use the written words as a stimulus for test-taker response. Even oral interviews may require reading performance for certain tasks. Reading, arguably the most essential skills for success in all educational contexts, and remains a skill of paramount importance as we create assessment of general language ability. And the assessment of reading ability doesn't end with the measurement of the comprehension. Strategic pathways to full understanding are often important factors to include in assessing learners, especially in the case of most classroom assessments that are formative in nature. Okay, so the next types of reading. Each type or genre of written text has its own set of governing rules and conventions. In these types or genre of reading, we have three main genres. The first one is academic reading. For academic reading, we can find this type of reading or genre in such as textbook, thesis, lab reports, and professional journal articles, essay, paper, and etc. And the second one is job-related reading. This includes phone message, letters or emails, memos, job evaluations, project reports, announcement, and etc. And the last one, the last genre is personal reading. We can find such a type of personal reading such as magazine, newspaper, greeting cards, invitation, recipes, maps, calendars, novels, short story, and many more. And when we realize that this list is only beginning, it is easy to what's that? To see how overwhelming it is to learn and to read in a foreign language. And the genre of a text enables readers to apply a certain semata that will assist them in extracting appropriate meaning. For example, the readers know that a text is recipe. They will expect a certain arrangement of information such as ingredients and will know to search for a sequential order of direction. And the content validity of an assessment procedure is largely established through the genre of a text. For example, if the learners in a program of English for tourism have been learning how to deal with the customers needing to arrange bus tour, then assessment of their ability should include guidebooks, maps, transportation schedules, calendars, and other relevant texts. Okay, now we move to the macro skills and the strategies for reading. The first one is micro skills. In the micro skills, we have some points. The first one is discriminate among the distinctive graphemes and orthographic patterns of English. Second, retain chunks of language of different length in short-term memory. Third, process writing or at an efficient rate of speed to suit the purpose. Recognize a core of words and interpret word orders patterns and their significance. Next is recognize grammatical word classes, system, patterns, rules, and elliptical forms. Next, recognize that a particular meaning may be expressed in different grammatical forms. And the last one is recognize cohesive devices in written uh, discourse and their role in signaling the relationship between and among clauses. And for the macro skills, we also have some points here. The first one is to recognize the rhetorical forms of written discourse and their significance for interpretation. Recognize the communicative function of written text according to form and purpose. Intercontext that is not explicit by using background knowledge. And from described events, ideas, or etc., infer links and connection between events, deduce causes and effects, and defect such relation as main idea, supporting idea, new information, given information, generalization, and exemplification. And macro skill also distinguish between literal and implied meaning. And the last one is develop and use battery of reading strategies such as scanning and skimming. Detecting discourse markers, guessing the meaning of words from context, and activating semata for the interpretation text. And here is some principal strategies for reading comprehension. The first one is identify your purpose in reading context. apply spelling rules and convention for bottom-up decoding, use lexical analysis such as prefixes, roots, suffixes to determine the term meaning, and guess at meanings of words or idiom when you are not certain, and skim the text for the keys and for the main idea. And next is scan the text for specific information such as name, dates, keywords, or something like that. And also use silent reading techniques for rapid processing. And use marginal notes on outline charts or semantic maps for understanding and retaining information. And distinguish between literal and implied meaning. And the last one is capitalize on discourse markers to process relationship. The next one is types of reading. Okay, so in the previous chapters, we saw that both listening and speaking could be subdivided into at least 5 different types of listening and speaking performance. In this case, in the case of reading, the variety of performance is derived more from multiplicity of types of text or the genre that I mentioned before than from the variety of over types of performance. Nevertheless, for considering assessment procedures, several types of reading performance are typically identified, and this will serve as organizer of various assessment tasks. And for the types of reading, we have four. The first one is perceptive. Perceptive here, in keeping with the set of categories specified for listening comprehension. Similar specifications are over here, except with some differing terminology to capture the uniqueness of reading. The perceptive reading thus involves attending to the component of larger stretches of discourse, letters, words, punctuations, and other graphemic symbols. But the bottom-up processing is implied. Second, selective. In this type of reading, this category is largely an artifact of assessment formats. In order to ascertain one's reading recognition of lexical, grammatical, or discourse feature of language within a very short stretch of language, certain typical tasks are used. Picture cue tasks, matching, true false, multiple choice, and etc. Stimuli include sentence, brief paragraphs, and simple charts and graphs. Brief responses are attended as well. A combination of bottom-up and top-down processing may be used. The third is interactive. Included among interactive reading types are stretch of language of several paragraphs to one page or more in which the reader must, in psycholinguistic sense, interact with the text. And the last one is extensive. Extensive reading applies the text of more than a page up to and including professional articles, essays, technical reports, short stories, and a book. Okay, so here is the basis to the length, focus, and process for each type of reading: perceptive, selective, interactive, and extensive. Okay, so now how to design assessment tasks. The first one is designing assessment tasks, perceptive reading. Here we have some points in designing assessment tasks. The first one is reading aloud. Reading aloud, yeah, the test taker sees separate letters, words, and oral sentence and read them aloud, one by one in the presence of an administrator. The next one is written response. The same stimuli are presented, and the test taker's task is to reproduce the proof in writing. And multiple choice. Multiple choice responses are not only a matter of choosing one of 4 or 5 possible answers. Other formats, some of which are especially useful at the low level of reading, include same or different, circle the answer, true, false, choose the letter, and matching. Yeah, and here is some possibilities. Yeah, the first is minimal pair distinction. It is S for same and T for different. And in this case, a very low level learners, the teacher reads the direction. So this, what I said, the student have to identify the whether it is same or different to the pronunciation or the pronunciation. Let and let, beat, seat, sat, to, and to. And the next one is grapheme recognition task. The test taker reads and then they have to circle the odd item, the one that doesn't belong. A piece, piece, and piece, book, book, and book, and so on. And in the perceptive reading, we have picture good item. The test taker are shown a picture such as on the next page, I mean in the right side, along with the written text and given one of a number of possible tasks to perform. Okay, so in this picture, in the picture, it shows that the test taker here point the word that you read here. There are cat, clock, and chair. And then with the same picture, the test taker might read sentence and then point to the correct part of the picture. Okay, and the next one is true false. Okay, so the test taker reads the sentence and they have to choose whether the sentence is true or false. Number 2, designing assessment tasks, selective reading. In designing assessment task selective reading, we have multiple choice for form focus criteria. By default, most popular method of testing a reading knowledge of vocabulary by grammar is the multiple choice format, mainly for reasons of practicality. It is easy to administer and can be scored quickly. Yeah, so the teacher often use multiple choice because of the easier because the easiness and the what is it? Yeah, they can uh, do it quickly. And the most straightforward multiple choice items may have little context but might serve as a vocabulary or grammar check. And this is the example of multiple choice for vocabulary or grammar ties. Okay, number one is he is not married, he is blah blah blah. A, young, single, B, single, C, first, and D, husband. So the test taker just read the sentence and then they have to choose the correct the vocabulary or grammar based on the text. And this is the contextual multiple choice for vocabulary and grammar tasks. This kind of chart of darting from one context to another in a test has become so commonplace that learners almost expect the disjointedness. Some improvement of these items is possible by providing some context within each item. Okay, so yeah, as I said before that this is contextual multiple choice vocabulary or grammar task. A better contextualized format is to offer a modified clause test for a treatment and adjusted to fit to the objective being assessed. Okay. The next one is matching. At this level of reading, the test taker task is simply to respond correctly, which makes matching an appropriate formats. The most frequently appearing criterion in matching procedure is vocabulary, and the following is the typical formats of matching tasks. Yeah, so we have some vocabulary in both sides, left and right, and the test taker have to match them. And the direction is right in the letter of the definition on the right that match with the word of the left. Okay. And to add a communicate quality to matching, the first numbered list is sometimes a set of sentences with blanks in them with a list of words to choose from. The next one is editing tasks. Editing for grammatical or rhetorical errors is a widely used task method assessing linguistic competence in reading. The TOEFL and many other tests employs this technique with the argument that is not only focuses on grammar but also introduces a simulation of the authentic task of editing and discerning errors in written passage. Okay, so this is the multiple choice grammar for editing tasks. Yeah, this is like error recognition. Yeah, the test taker have to choose the answer that is not suitable for the sentence. And then picture kit tasks. Picture kit tasks in selective reading, designing assessment task, selective reading, the pictures and photographs may be equally well utilities for examining ability at the selective level. and several types of picture code method are commonly used. Okay, so this is the multiple choices. The multiple choice for picture kit response. The test taker read a sentence or passage and choose one of four pictures that is being described. The sentence at this level is more complex. Okay. And here the test taker reads series of sentences of definition and each describing a label part of a picture or diagram. Their task is to identify each label items. The next one is capfilling. An extension of simple gap filling task is to create a sentence completion item where the test taker read part of a sentence and then they complete it by writing a phrase. Okay, so this is the example of sentence completion task or gap filling. And yeah, the obvious disadvantages of this type of task is its questionable assessment of reading ability. These tasks require both reading and writing performance, thereby rendering it of low ability in isolating reading at the sole criterion. Another drawback is scoring the variety of creative responses that are likely to appear. And then you will have to make number of judgments on what comprises a correct response. The third is designing assessment tasks, interactive reading. Tasks at this level, like selective tasks, have a combination of warm-focused and meaning-focused objective, but with more emphasis on meaning. Interactive tasks may therefore imply a little more focus on top-down processing than on bottom-up. Text in this assessment, the texts are a little longer, from a paragraph to as much as a page or so in this case of ordinary prose. And for the charts, graphs and other graphics may be somewhat complex in their format. The next is cloze tasks. The word cloze was coined by educational psychologists to capture the Gestalt psychological concepts of closure, that is, the ability to fill in gaps in an incomplete image and supply omitted details. And cloze tests are usually a minimum of 2 paragraphs in length in order to account for discord expectancies. So yeah, this is the example of cloze procedure, fixed ratio dilation, and cloze procedure rational dilation for preposition in conjunction. The next one is short answer. A popular alternative to multiple choice question following reading passage is the age-old short answer format because multiple choice items sometimes difficult to construct and validate, and classroom teachers rarely have time to, in their busy schedules, to design such a type of test. I mean the multiple choice test. And then the popular alternative one is short answer. And in the short answer task, a reading passage is presented and the test taker reads questions that must be answered in a sentence or two. Okay, so this is the example of open-ended reading comprehension questions. Yeah, the student or the learner have to read the text first, and then they have to answer the question based on the text with only maybe one or two sentences. The next one is editing for the longer text. In editing for longer text, it has advantages such as authenticity is increased. And the task stimulates proofreading once on essay. The test designer can draw up specifications for a number of grammatical and rhetorical categories that match the content of the courses. Okay, so this is the example of editing for the longer text. The next one is scanning. Scanning is the strategy to find relevant information in a text. For example, one or two pages news article, an essay, a chapter in the textbook, technical reports, table or chart depicting some research finding, menu, or application forms. And among the variety of scanning objectives for each of the genre named before, the test taker must locate the date, name, or place in the article, the setting for the narration story or the story, the principal divisions of a chapter, the principal research finding in the technical report, a result reported in the specified cell in the table, the cost of an item on the menu, and specified data needed to fill out an application. And scoring of such scanning tasks is amenable to specificity if the initial directions are specific. For example, how much does the dark chocolate tart cost? And since one of the purposes of scanning is to quickly identify important elements, timing may also be calculated into scoring procedure. The next one is ordering tasks. In ordering tasks, students always enjoys the activity of receiving little strip of paper, each with sentence on it, assembling them into the story, sometimes called strip technique. The variations on this can serve as an assessment of overall global understanding of a story and of the cohesive devices that signal the order of events or ideas. And this also the example of sentence ordering task. They have to arrange the some sentence into the correct one to be a better paragraph. Okay, the next one is designing assessment tasks for extensive reading. In designing assessment tasks, extensive reading, we have skimming tasks. Skimming task is the process of rapid coverage of reading a matter to determine its gist or the main idea. It is a prediction strategy used to give the reader to a sense of the topic and the purpose of the text, the organization of the text, the perspective or point of view of the writer. It is easy or difficult, and or it is useful or not to the reader. And of course, skimming can apply to texts or less than one page. So it would be wise not to confine this type of task just to extensive tasks. And the assessment for skimming tasks is usually straightforward. The test taker skims a text and answers the questions such as the following. What is the main idea of the text? What is the author purpose in writing the text? What kind of writing is this? What type of writing? How easy or difficult? What do you think? And many more. And the response here are oral or written depending on the context. And most assessment in the domain of skimming are informal and formative. Next one is summarizing and responding. Okay, so this is the example of direction for summarizing. Write a summary of the text. Your summary should be about one paragraph in length, and so on and so on. And then the criteria for assessing summary, we have to express accurately the main idea and supporting idea, and it has to be written in student-owned words. Occasional vocabulary from the text is acceptable. And then the summary must logically organize. And the last one, display facilities in the use of language to clearly express idea in the text. Okay, so this is the example of direction for responding reading. In the article Poisoning the Air We Breathe, the author suggests that global depends on blah 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 and blah blah. Okay, so one criterion for a good response here is the extent to which the test taker accurately reflects the content of the article and some arguments therein. Scoring responding to reading here is difficult because subjectivity of determining an accurate reflection of the article itself. And here is the holistic scoring scale for summarizing and responding to reading. We have 3 points if it demonstrates clear, unambiguous comprehension of the main and supporting idea. And we have 2 points if the summarize or response demonstrated comprehension of the main idea, but it lacks comprehension of some supporting idea. And we have 1 point if the paragraph demonstrates only a partial comprehension of the main and supporting ideas. And we have 0 point if the text or the paragraph demonstrates no comprehension of the main and supporting idea. The last one is note-taking and outlining. A reader comprehension of extensive text may be assessed through an evaluation of a process of note-taking and or outlining. Because of the difficulty of controlling the condition and time frame for both this technique, they rest firmly in the category of informal assessment. And their utility is in the strategic training that learners gained in retaining information through marginal notes, that is, highlight key information, or organizational outlines that put supporting uh, ideas into a visual, manageable framework. Okay, so this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for watching, and I am sorry if I have some mistakes before. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.